Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll give a few moments for people to join in. But the topic for today is flashcards and automated pronunciation grading and how to use these new Sanako Connect features. To begin, I'll go through some practicalities. This webinar will be recorded and will also be published on Sanako's YouTube, and it will be shared with all participants through email as well. All of the attendees will be muted by default and can only ask questions through the question and answer function or Zoom's chat. On that note, we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A session after the product demonstration. To start things off, Sanako's mission has always been to help schools and universities to provide the best quality second language education with minimal effort. We are a Finnish educational technology company, and our solutions are used in over 114 countries and 50,000 classrooms worldwide. Every week, roughly 6 million individuals are getting better education by using Sanako language teaching solutions. For those of you who are new to the system, let's briefly recap what Connect actually is, the system that we're going to take a look at today. So Connect is a platform focused on teaching and learning languages with the flexibility and scalability of modern technology. There are no installations needed. It's easy to maintain. There's a flexible subscription-based licensing, and it can be used in the classroom and remotely as well. Connect also allows live teaching and self-paced learning in the same solution, which is a good segue to flashcards and pronunciation, two features that we're going to take a look at today. Let's take a brief look at both features first. In Connect, the flashcard feature is already available. As a teacher, you can create decks for your students, and they can learn vocabulary items, for example. These decks currently support images and text, and we will be adding additional options in the future. These are very easy to create, and they include a nice practice mode for the students as well, like all flashcards do. As a teacher, the flashcards are meant more for self-study purposes for the students. So basically, they will be going through the deck on their own. And in the end, you will receive a report for each student, and you will see how well each student did. So you will be able to see how many times the students tried the deck, for example, and which cards they got right. So it's very convenient. Next up, we have the automated pronunciation grading feature. It's a pronunciation task. It uses text-to-speech and speech recognition engines. As a teacher, you can easily create exercises simply by copying and pasting in words or sentences. For students, it provides automated feedback on their pronunciation. And it also allows for unlimited practice time for students. So they can go through words or sentences as many times as are needed. We currently support these languages with the automated pronunciation grading feature. We will be adding additional languages based on the need. So if there's a particular language that you would like to see the support for in Connect, please get in touch with us. We will be adding additional support for different languages as well, but almost all of the major languages are covered with the regional variants included as well. So let's jump into Connect. Let's take a look at Connect from a student's perspective. This is now a student logging into Connect. All they have to do is enter their name, and they will enter one of these virtual classrooms. In this particular classroom, I've set up a flashcard deck for my students. So we will be completing the flashcard deck as a student. All we have to do is click on the exercise and then choose Start. This deck focuses on Finnish vocabulary. We'll start off by turning on the practice mode. Let's assume that we don't know these words in advance. So we can scroll through the cards. Like you can see, there's a word in English and then the Finnish equivalent on the other side. As a student, we go through the deck, learning each word. We're currently in practice mode. And when we're ready, we just turn the practice mode off and we're good to go. So now we can try how well we learned that deck. The system automatically tells us also that if we get the answer correct or incorrect. These cards can have images or just plain text. It's up to you when you create them. So this student is now completing the flashcard deck. I'm going to make a mistake there. So you see that the system automatically tells me that it was incorrect. Let's start over. When I click on Start Over, the system shuffles the deck again. So the cards are now in different order. I'll quickly complete some of these cards again. I'll make a mistake there. And I'll send the deck back to the teacher to prove that I've completed my assignment. We can now take a quick look on the teacher side to see what kind of report we receive as a teacher from the flashcards exercise. So here we have Alexis student. We see that they've completed the deck. At the top here, we see that their final try, they got 3 out of 5 correct. We can also see at a glance that they didn't get all of the cards right. And we can see how many times they tried the deck as well. So it's easy to see at a glance how well your student has learned the vocabulary items, for example, that you want them to learn. Now let's take a look at the pronunciation feature from a student's perspective. I'm signing in to a different classroom because the pronunciation feature is currently in development. It will be released after the holidays. So we'll open up one of our examples here. Just like with the deck, as a student, all we have to do is click on the exercise. After that, we click on Start and we start to complete the exercise. The way these automatically graded pronunciation exercises work is that students listen to an example first, created by the text-to-speech engine. They then try to imitate that as closely as possible, and they receive a score based on how well they did. And then they listen back to their own pronunciation and compare it with the text-to-speech example. So let's listen to the first one. This is UK English, by the way.
Let's begin.
Let's begin. Now, after we record ourselves, the system evaluates how well we did, and we receive immediate feedback on our pronunciation. We can listen back. Let's begin to our recording and compare it with the original.
Let's begin.
We'll then move on to the next phrase or vocabulary item. Again, listening to the example.
This is an example.
This is an example. And we receive feedback immediately as a student. So your students can work on these pronunciation exercises on their own, comparing themselves with the original one. And they can try as many times as is needed to get it right.
It's a nice day, isn't it?
It's a nice day, isn't it? So all your students have to do is listen to the example, click on pronounce, then click on play your take, and move on to the next sentence. Now let's take a look how these exercises are created on the teacher's side. I'm jumping back to the teacher's side, and I'm going to navigate over to the exercises editor. The flashcards and pronounce are both another task type, which means you can use them as part of a more complex exercise, or you can simply create exercises that are dedicated to that task alone, like we did right here. So I had a separate exercise for my flashcard deck, but I could include that deck as part of, let's say, a group discussion exercise as well, to give my students vocabulary that they should use during their group discussion. Creating flashcards is very simple. We can add the language that we use here, English and Finnish, like so. And then we choose what's displayed on the card. So by typing in to the both fields right here, we've created one card. We can create another one simply by typing. And clicking on enter brings up an additional card. If we need to add an image, all we have to do is click here and choose an image from our computer. It's perfectly fine to work with text only, but images do tend to enrich the experience for your students. Now let's take a look at the pronunciation exercise. It's again just another task type. So you could include pronunciation tasks in any of your exercises as part of them. You can prime your students for the next task. All you have to do is, again, click on the task and it's automatically added. In the pronunciation exercise, you do have to choose the source language. And this is the same list that we saw earlier. So you choose the language in which the system creates the words or sentences for you. You can either write or copy and paste your text right here. But whatever you type here will be included in the exercise as well. So we could simply follow the same format. When we click on plus, the system creates the phrases for us. All we would have to do then is give the exercise a name, click on save, and the exercise is created. So it's really that simple to create these pronunciation tasks. Just like with the flashcards, these exercise types can be used for Self-study. You can, for example, create a classroom dedicated entirely to flashcard decks and pronunciation exercises, and have your students access that classroom whenever they want to practice anything related to those decks or pronunciation exercises. Okay, I think it's time for the question and answer part of this webinar. So let's take a look at what kind of questions we have at the moment.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alexis. And this is Juho Isola from Sanako. I will be reading out some of the questions on the Q&A. First of all, Alexis, there's a question from Carla related to the flashcards. So
Yes.
the question is, what about hiding those that you get correct and then redoing the ones you got incorrect? So basically, yeah, working just on the cards that you didn't manage to have correct on the first go. So is there a possibility to hide the ones that you actually had correct?
We will be adding that feature. That's something that we've already planned for, that you can go through the deck and then you can hide the ones that you actually know. So you don't have to go through the entire deck every time. But in the first phase, we just wanted to make this available to you as quickly as possible. So right now the students go through the entire deck.
Exactly. Very good. Let's see. Again, related to the flashcards, the question is, when students type their response, can the instructor add more than one response? So for example, one with accents and one without. So I think this relates to multiple possible correct answers and how the system understands what is actually correct and which is not.
That's again another great suggestion. So we will be adding that as well for the flashcards. Right now, it's one correct answer per card, but we of course have to allow for some variation in the cards as well.
Yeah.
We do have that feature in other question and answer type exercises, for example. So we will be fine-tuning the flashcards as well.
But by the way, is it currently case sensitive? So does the student, do they need to care about capital letters or small case letters?
It isn't case sensitive at the moment.
Yes. And then, well, there was a couple of questions related to the languages. Could you switch and show us a list of languages available? So this is the current list that will be available in the first phase. There are some local variants for a couple of the languages, and one question was related to that there's multiple different local variants, for example, for Portuguese. So these are the ones that are available in the first phase, but we will be adding additional languages in the future and especially based on the requirements and feedback from the customer. So if you have some certain specific languages or local variants you need, just let us know, and we will be having those higher on the list of potential new languages. One question related to the flashcards: can the teacher hide or turn off the practice mode for students?
At the moment, no, because, well, the original idea of the flashcards was to, reinforce learning so students can go through the deck as many times as possible. So it's not an exam-like feature in that sense, but it is something that we could take into consideration as well if there's enough requests for it to be added as an exam-like feature. That would mean that the students would complete the deck without practicing it. So it would be like a vocabulary test in a way. Of course, vocabulary tests you can already create in Connect very easily.
Yeah. Again, related to the languages available in the pronunciation activity, about the timeline of adding new language groups, and in this question, there's mention for Korean language. Correct me, Alexis, if I'm mistaken, but isn't Korean and Hindi actually already included? Or do I recall it incorrectly?
Let's take a quick look. Korean and Hindi are already added.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've already heard your feedback. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so there's Korean mentioned in this question, and also Arabic, Persian, and those are not yet there, but we will make a note about it and see the possibilities for adding
And
those.
of course they will be added. Arabic
Yeah.
specifically will be added.
Yeah. Question about, can you import CSV files? So I'm guessing this would be a list of sentences, a list of different word items. So basically, is it possible to import a list of existing, let's say, exercises and bring those in as flashcards or the pronunciation activities?
Not at the moment, but for flashcards, the CSV import is already in development, so it will be added after the holiday break. Of course, it's a lot quicker to just import your list of words as a CSV file, especially for the flashcards. In Pronounce, all you have to do is copy and paste text into a box, so that's already fairly easy to do.
Yeah. The next question. Has the International Phonetic Alphabet already incorporated into Sanako? And if yes, could it be added to the flashcards and pronunciation exercises?
It's going to be added as part of, we're going to need a floating keyboard that allows you to add accent marks. So International Phonetic Alphabet is part of that. So that's also in development right now. And it's a good idea to use them as part of flashcards. So we'll definitely have support for them.
One question relates to the student login. So could you quickly show the couple of options how students would be joining the sessions?
Yes, exactly. So in Connect, students don't have accounts. Students don't have to give their email and create accounts specifically. They can join in two ways. As a teacher, you have always access to this information, but when you create a new virtual classroom in Connect and it's created on the Connect server, what the system actually does, it creates a web link or a URL for your students and a QR code. Now, by sending that specific link to your students, or by sending the QR code and your students scan the QR code with their mobile phone, they are taken into the classroom. So as an example, I already did this, but I'll do it again. This is now a student clicking on the link sent by the teacher. They are entering the flashcards classroom. All they have to do is enter a name. Check their microphone connections, and they are inside the classroom. So all your students have to do is either click on a link, or if you want them to be using their mobile phones, they can scan the QR code as well. And those are always available to you as a teacher, whether you're inside the classroom or creating the sessions in the session view.
Okay. So let's take a couple of more. Actually, there was a couple of questions related to the audio. 2 questions actually related to the flashcards. So is it possible to add audio to the flashcards?
This is feedback that we've already received. So like I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, we will be adding support in the flashcards for audio and other file types as well. Currently, it supports images and GIF animations in addition to text. But of course, it makes sense to have audio there.
Yeah. And leading next question again for audio, relations to audio. Can an audio clip's speed be adjustable? So can the user change the speed?
In the pronunciation exercise, I assume.
I assume as well.
So let's jump back in to the pronunciation exercise. The quick answer is yes, you can adjust the speed. But you can also, as a student, choose the voice. So if I click next to listen to example, as a student, I can choose whether to listen to a male voice or the female voice. And here I can also adjust the speed. These are reasonable speed adjustments at the moment. So it's not a drastic change, but you can slow it down a little bit. So let's slow it down and listen to the female voice.
Let's begin.
It slows it down a little bit.
Let's begin.
That being the normal selection. You can also speed it up, but I don't see a use case for that at the moment.
Yeah. So the audio speed can be changed for this activity, and I think we have also discussed that the same ability would be available for all audio clips across
Yes.
Sanako Connect. So whenever you have audio material as a stimulus material or part of an exercise or a two-track recorder, you could actually change the speed. So that's in development as far as I know. So we're nearing the time that was allocated for this webinar. So the half an hour time mark is soon here. So could you, Alexis, quickly recap what's next?
So what's next is we'd like you to check your email inbox from communication from Sanako. We will be sending a recording of the webinar, and we will also send you information on upcoming webinars that have been organized by us. You can always contact us directly, but our resellers can be found on our website, which they will be able to help you directly more easily. If you want additional information on Sanako's products or want to register for a product trial, for example, just get in touch with us or any of our resellers.
Excellent. So I think that's pretty much it. So we will be uploading the recording soon, and of course sending it via email to all who registered for the webinar. So take a look of that one. And there was plenty more of questions in the Q&A, but we cannot really cover everything at the moment. But we will take a look at those later and potentially answer some of them via the email communication as well, if that's possible for us to do. But yes, on my behalf, thanks for everyone for joining us today, and yeah, have a great day, and hopefully we see you again in the next webinar.
Thank you everyone for joining in today.
Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.